Welcome to Building Profitable Relationships, the podcast where we talk with successful entrepreneurs and business owners who have built strong and profitable relationships with their customers, partners, and peers. In our conversations, we explore the heart and science of relationship building in the world of business. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Building Profitable Relationships, where we bring inspiring stories, tips, and strategies for building strong relationships in your business, in your community. However, you build those relationships, they're all a part of the big picture. My guest today is Arthur Tassinello, who is located on the Treasure Coast of Florida. Welcome, Arthur.
Well, thanks for having me today, Yvonne. This is a pleasure being here, and I look forward to chatting with you. It's always fun to talk about life, basically, and relationships are certainly one of the most important things that we have to navigate.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. It's all a part of this life we live. So Arthur is an author, a consultant, a counselor, and an advocate. He will be sharing his approach to relationship building and his top tips for anyone who is looking to grow their business and brand through building stronger relationships. So let's dive in. Arthur, will you please share a little bit about yourself, who you are, so we get to know you as a person? And then would you please tell us a little bit about your business, how you got started, and how did you get into recognizing that the growth of your business depended on building those strong relationships and communities around you?
Okay, so that's a big question,
It
Yvonne.
is.
I'm going to start with my life. I'm really an entrepreneur. I'm one of these people that within 3 to 5 years, I'm ready to do something new, something different. It could be within the same industry, but I want a new challenge. I need more knowledge. I need more exposure. I need more interests. I'm just one of those people. You couldn't stick me in the town that I was born in or where I grew up in high school. I see that. I was just talking to someone the other day, and I know have a lot of friends that I know that are still in the same place and still doing the same jobs. That's just not me.
Mhm.
Everybody has their path, as I'll call it. So I've been in probably 24 different businesses. I've been everything from just sales through CEO for a company. I've owned a few companies as well. Right now, today, I still, as an entrepreneur, I'm in at least 2 different businesses. And one is still running, in a sense, I do part-time running a construction company. But I also, as you may know from my books, my real passion, which started about 15 years ago, is writing about humanity. It's writing about us and understanding who we are. More than anything, though, the books are always about the person who writes the books, because for me, it was understanding Arthur. Who's Arthur? Why did I go in this direction? Why are my relationships X? And certainly, I found more success in business relationships than in personal relationships. And the reason for that is that in personal relationships, I found for me over the years is that I was always this person that I needed to be right about stuff. And so, when you need to be right, then you're also wrong at the same time, because we're all different and we all have our own belief systems and so forth. So it took me quite a while to understand that. I've been working on myself diligently, really, for the past 4 decades. So I'm kind of old, and or let's put it this way: I'm well used and experienced. How's that?
I like that. But Arthur, you said something that I didn't know about you before, even though we've had conversations. And it's the fact that you are, I thought about it when you mentioned about variety.
Mhm.
You don't like to be stuck in a certain situation, certain
Right.
position, certain place. And I thought about the six essential needs that all humans have, and one of those is variety. So you are a highly variety driven person, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Not
Well,
at
there's
all.
nothing wrong with any of us if we're happy in what we're doing.
Exactly.
That's the main thing.
Exactly.
If that, whatever we're doing, if that feeds us, if that's our passion, and it doesn't always have to be a passion. I think the word sometimes gets overused that, did you find your passion yet? And people are sometimes going, I don't know if I found my passion or not. I kind of like what I'm doing. Do I love what I'm doing? Maybe not, but it puts food on the table and I'm happy enough. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So we
Mm-hmm.
don't always have to be like, wow about life, but we can be satisfied with what we do. And when you talk about relationships, what I love about that is that one of the best jobs. Well, I've had a number of good jobs, but one that I really enjoyed was I was working for a company as their director for strategic partners. And what I loved about that is that I got to play in sales, marketing, operations. I got to do client calls as well. I got to get clients to help us build our product. So for me, what the great part about it is I gathered all these different factions, all these different people, all these different jobs that they were doing to bring them together as one.
Mm-hmm.
And it helped everybody because the good things I did for my customers was to bring them in and ask them, what do they need? What is it that they need? Perhaps I can fill that void for you. Perhaps I can fill that need for you. Oftentimes as leaders in companies, I apologize for that. Put that away. Uh, Leaders as companies, we believe that we're managing people, but you're managing resources. And although people are resources for you, you're not really managing people. The thing is that you need to lead people. You need to give them the vision and allow them to do their job the best that they can do. If you're always looking over somebody's shoulder, if you're always there, I don't know if you did that right, it doesn't facilitate good communication or good relationships. So relationships with everybody, home and business, will help you be successful in life. It'll help you be happy. It'll help you be less stressed in what you do. And as I've seen over the many decades that I've been in business, and is that the more I do for my employees, the more I can do for the people I work with, the more I can help them do their job better if they ask, the better my job gets. I get elevated by helping them. So always a win-win. The more I can help you be successful in what you do, the more successful I will be and the happier I will be. So I love to give to people. I love to do that, but I've always been that way, as difficult as I made my personal relationships.
Mm-hmm.
I was still giving to my relationships. I just didn't know how those personal relationships, how to really communicate well. And I've learned the big lessons from that. So that's why I love talking to people about communication and your attitude and allowing other people to be who they are. We don't have to be right about everything. In fact, we're probably not. Well, I know we're not right about everything, but we get into those places of your right is your right, my right is my right, and just allow it, let it be that way.
Wow, you have shared a tremendous amount of nuggets in what you just said. One of the ones that I really appreciate, because it's something that I am also no, I am passionate about that as well. And it's the fact that recognizing your role as a leader
Mhm.
as opposed to a manager, and you made, this is not about leadership, but it is about relationships, and that's a part of it. Rather than micromanaging people, you're leading them and allowing them, empowering them by allowing them to make decisions for themselves based on the training that you have provided and the guidelines that you as a leader have provided. So Those are really, really great points. And you kind of went into something else that I wanted to ask you, Arthur, but you can still talk about it. And that's, what do you believe are some of those key elements to building strong relationships with your customers? You mentioned that because you talked about asking them for feedback, which is critical and which is a shortfall with many business owners. We think we know it all because we are providing the service
Mhm.
and the product. We forget that asking for feedback from the people who are using our services or our products, that's key, because we are so close to our business that we don't always see the big picture.
Yeah,
When we
so
don't see the gaps, we don't always see the gaps. So it's asking for those feedbacks. So please share with us any additional points to what you've shared about building those strong relationships with customers, with your employees, as you mentioned, with joint venture partners, or with your just with your peers, just life, as you said.
Mhm. The word that came up for me while you were saying that is inclusion.
Mm-hmm,
So we want to include people in what we're doing because we're all partners in this, right? We're partners either in our life, in our personal life, or we're partners certainly with our family, right? If you have a significant other or your wife, a husband, whatever it may be.
mm-hmm,
So include them and have conversations with them. Now, in business in particular, the inclusion is paramount. I have found that the more I have people around me to help me or to just, oh, what's the word I'm looking for? To mentally stimulate each other to either build a better product or have a better service. Remembering that the end goal is your customer. If you don't have a customer and you don't have a repeat customer, you don't have a business.
exactly.
So when I would go to customers, I would help them. I would help them and they would help me in trade shows. So they would even be like a spokesperson for my product in a trade show because I included them. I said, how does this product work for you? How does our service work for you? Well, if you did this, it would be better. That's also meant that the people that were making the product for us that was helping my customer, they were involved as well.
Mm-hmm,
Because it's all, everybody's included in this, because if we don't all understand, if the manufacturer of your product doesn't understand what you need and doesn't help you with it, if the customer doesn't tell you what he needs, you can't do anything about it. You could have the best widget in the world, as they say, right? They often say the best mousetrap. If nobody knows about it, you don't have any sales. You have no business. But not only do you have to include those people to find out if this is the right product or service for them, you have to make it better for them as well. The more they understand that you have their best interest at heart, and you should, the the better your business will be, the easier business will be, the less stressed your business will be. And it's the same thing with your peers and employees, always including them. It's just communication. You do something, you don't have to, but I always like doing something outside of the business with employees as well, or with my peers.
mm-hmm,
We got to know each other. We got to understand each other. We got to appreciate one another for our strengths. And one of the best things I would say you can do for yourself, if you've been in business any amount of time or you work for a few companies, is go back to those people that you no longer work with and ask them for real feedback about you, not just the testimonial. Just ask them about, how was it working with me? What were my strengths? What were my weaknesses? What could I improve in my life? Sometimes you get really surprised by stuff. I know that at one time when I first started my LinkedIn page,
mm-hmm,
I asked a lot of people that I had worked with before in businesses that were 20 years before this. And they said some really nice things about me. And it wasn't the nice things. What they said is, it showed me that I was doing things that I thought were correct and helpful, but I was really doing them. I mean, because it rubbed off on them. It's so amazing. It really is so amazing. And of course, there was one time in a business when it came for a review, and someone said, "Oh, he just takes over." right? And then I realized, okay, I need to back off because that's my A personality. That's my control
Mhm.
part. Is like, I know what to do. Let's do it together. Let's figure it out some more. But I think this is the direction. Not everybody appreciates that. So knowing that, it helped me to be more inclusive with people than I was before, than I thought I was before.
Mhm.
So that life is interesting. I'm gonna, if you don't mind, I'm gonna share with the audience something really personal, and to understand that on the relationship, the personal relationship side, how my life has gone. So at a very young age, I got married. By 23, I had a son. Within 6 years, his wife, his mother, and I were divorced, and so I was a part-time dad. And part-time dad always isn't a good dad because you're not always, for me, not always
Mhm.
showing up when you're supposed to. So maybe something else happens in your personal life that you go, oh, okay, I'll put him off for a week, or it'll be the next weekend type of thing.
Mhm.
And then I had moved 3,000 miles away when he was 14. And that was, I went, well, he's a boy and he's 14, everything will be okay, until about 6 years later, I all of a sudden, this kind of light bulb went off in my head. And I said, God, I said, I hope you can forgive me. And I hope my son will forgive me for being that absentee dad and not always being there. Sure, I did a lot of things with him and I was good to him when I saw him. So I said, if I ever had that opportunity to do that again, I want you to know it'd be different. Now, think about this. I wasn't married and I wasn't thinking about having any more children because he's 20 at this point in time.
Mhm.
So God, in his infinite wisdom, as God is, God said, hey, Arthur, 2 years later, he taps me on the shoulder. I got somebody for you. And so, sure, I got married. And then 16 months later, we had a little girl. So this was, for me, my second chance. It was my learning from what I didn't do correctly in the beginning to do things better because, one, I promised God, but also I promised myself. And so for the last 30 years, I have been the best dad that any dad could be. My daughter will attest to that. And I've also mended the tough parts of my relationship with my son. So he's forgiven me, although he won't forget some of the things that really bugged him and bothered him. But the bottom line is that you can change. I always talk about change a lot. You can change your life in a minute, or you could take a decade to change it. But you have the opportunity to do that. It's just to really recognize and go deep into who you are and what you want your life to be. What do you want your legacy to be? And how do you want to treat people like they want to be treated?
Mhm. Absolutely. And Arthur, I think you have some way of reading my mind as to the questions that I want to ask you because you are keeping a step ahead of me. Because one of the things that I wanted to ask you, and I so appreciate, and I know our audience will appreciate your being authentic and vulnerable in sharing your personal story. And my question was essentially that what role do you think authenticity and vulnerability play in building deeper and more meaningful relationships with your customers, with your partners? You have just been vulnerable here. And I know that's appreciated because whomever is listening to this will hear the real you. But what would you say to many of us based on our culture sometimes?
Mhm,
Sometimes it's the way we were raised.
mhm.
We're reluctant to share, that we're reluctant to appear vulnerable, especially men. So I really honor and appreciate your doing this. You're being vulnerable. But what would you say to them to help them to understand that rather than a hindrance, this actually deepens the relationships that you can build?
Well, I don't know anyone on this planet that doesn't appreciate someone being humble and authentic. I know that when growing up, when I was very young, I always wanted people to see me as like successful and
Mhm.
happy, and all of these things. And we put on this mask of who we think other people want to see and who we think we need to be in front of other people. But when you take off that mask, there's such a release in the body. As I tell you stories about me that are truthful and honest, uh, I say it because it releases me from having to think about who I am. I know who I am, and I want you to know who I am as well. But in line with that, it helps me to be kinder. It helps me to be more loving. It helps me to be more compassionate and empathetic and understanding. It's all of those things. Life doesn't need to be difficult. We only start to make it difficult. It's real easy for us to say, well, the government and the news and all of this thing. I don't want to go there because I feel manipulated by them too, but I can't rely on them to run my life, and I don't want them to run my life. So I have to rely on me to be the authentic person, to be the vulnerable person, to be the humble person, to do the correct things in life, business, personal relationships, with everything. It's the only way. I help run a business part-time. It's in construction. So I meet people all the time, and I have to talk to them about what we're going to do and what we can do, what we can't do, what the costs are, and so forth. But if something little happens, I have to be upfront and say, hey, that's on us. Not try to hide things, not try to shade things, not try to put something over on somebody. I cannot tell you, throughout life, throughout all my business experiences, the more candid and honest and direct that I am and truthful that I am with somebody, the more they will be accepting and want to help as well. We can help each other on this planet every day. We can do things. I'll share this with you if I have another minute, if you don't mind.
Go
So,
ahead.
Yvonne, you and I go out today and we make friends with two other people. I mean, when I say friends, in the sense that we allow each other to do whatever we want in our life, but we do no harm to the other person. That's all there is. You can be you, I can be me, they can be them, but we're not going to do any harm to them. So the four of us go out the next day and meet four more people, which means 8. And then the following day, it's 16, and it keeps doubling every day to 32, 64, 128, 256, 512, and so forth. So when people say you cannot create peace and love on this planet, I say, maybe not, because of all the division of the forces and so forth, but I have an opportunity, and this is something that I want to do every day, to try and create that. Because at the end of 33 days, if we keep doing this, doubling the effect, we have reached more than 8 billion people on the planet. 8 billion. So for the math people out there, if you want to take that and take 2 and make it 4 and then 8 and 16 and so forth each day, see what the number comes out, because I guarantee you it's actually 8,358,000,000, somewhere around that. So it is possible. It may not be probable, but it's possible. And if you keep that in mind, if you keep that in your heart, that with everyone that you meet, that you bring a kindness to it, or a smile to it, or something uplifting to that relationship, you don't have to have bad relationships with anyone, as difficult, as different as they may think. Oh, wow.
I say maybe not because of all division.
Somehow that person is listening.
Alexa or Siri or one of them.
Right. Well, one of them is right. Oh my goodness.
That's all
Well,
right.
maybe that was a good way for me to stop my rant.
Yeah, you know what? And I'm not cutting this out either. I'm letting it right there because we're in an imperfect world, and it just shows that we can have interruptions, but it doesn't mean that we're going to allow it to derail us, right?
Exactly.
So to wrap up, you have shared wonderful nuggets. And what I appreciate is that you're so authentic with the way you transfer the information based on your life experiences, Arthur. I truly, truly appreciate every one of my guests do that, but you do it in such a in such a way that conveys the fact that you have this knowledge, you have this experience, and you're willing to contribute to making it a better place for the people that you come in contact with. So, to wrap up today, what advice would you give to someone who's just starting out in their business and they want to really understand, or you want to help them understand
Mhm.
that they can really grow their business by building strong relationships with their customers or clients or with their peers, joint venture partners, just
Right.
anyone they come in contact with?
Yeah, I get back to the best thing that you can do is one, first of all, understand where you want to take your business. And if you don't have an end goal, if you don't understand what you need to accomplish in the next 6 months or the next year, the next 2 years, yeah, you're kind of lost at that point. But the other thing is that bring in people that can help you grow your business. And sometimes I know it's difficult because people don't have the finances that there was a saying, if I get it right, if you don't have the resources, right, become resourceful. So
Hmm.
that means and I don't often like this term, but think out of the box type of thing. Think about other ways that you can grow your business. Think about other people that you could bring in that might help you um, on a personal level, someone that you know that would give you maybe a little bit of free time, but get help. Don't try to shoulder this all yourself because it'll never work. You'll be so stressed. You'll be stressed in your business and you'll bring that stress into your personal life. And then neither one is successful. If you're stressed in your business, you're stressed in if you're stressed in your personal life, you're stressed in your business.
Hmm.
And
They're
so there's,
interconnected.
yeah, it's you, right? It's me. So if you can't just relieve the stress by just saying, "Oh, I won't be stressed," because you're
Hmm.
carrying it with you all the time. So get help, really get help. And it's hard sometimes to ask for help, and it's certainly sometimes hard to afford it. But if you don't get the help,
Hmm.
whether by paying for it or some other way, you're kidding yourself in trying to manage a big business. You can't do a big business on your own.
Right. You're going to be limiting your growth. So, yes,
Yeah.
that's a really, really great point. And one of the things the theme that ran through everything you said that I got was the importance of creating a community around your
Mhm.
business, community around yourself. And that extends to a community around your business. We tend to compartmentalize and segment our life and our business, but they're really just one, right?
That's right. Exactly,
We-
Yvonne. Exactly. And I know you understand that probably more than most people do.
I do.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being my amazing guest today, Arthur. And I look forward to sharing this discussion we had. I don't like to think of it as an interview because I think more of it is just a conversation.
It is. It is, Yvonne. It is. And it's so wonderful to see you. I haven't seen you in a very, very long time. You're still the same beautiful person that I met many years ago.
Thank
And I
you.
so appreciate who you are and bringing all of this wonderful information to light with other people as well as me. So thank you again
Thank you.
for being here for me.
You're very welcome. And thank you for being here. And for our guests, thank you for watching and listening. And I want to remind you always keep in mind that when you focus on relationships, the money will follow. I am Yvonne A. Jones of 50andwisercoaching.com, and I'll see you again next time.